All right, so let's look at APIs or application program interfaces. If we think about a programming language, one of the things we want to do with the programming language, especially something like Python, is to manipulate large data sets. And we need to get them in somehow. And one of the ways we want to do that is connect to another program or a database. And that connection we're going to talk about as the application program interface for another program. In the modern world, there used to be a middleware you needed for that, and some of it was a more generic middleware, and then some of it was custom interfaces for each one of those other programs. In the modern world with the web, you can use the web as an interface itself. And if we look at an API here I have, which goes to the Genderize. And what this website pretends to do is, if you give it a name, it will give you the probability of that gender for that name. And so if we see here, we have 4 pieces of data. We have the name, we have the gender, and the probability of it's that gender, and how many instances they have to make that data up. Interestingly, if we look at something like Jan, you will see that it's 95% male, whereas in the United States, and especially the United States in my generation, you would think of that a lot more as female, which is interesting, at least for me. Many times these were set up as anonymous, so the goal was to get that is you can use the service without signing up. The goal was to get you to use the service and then have some other service that you would sign up for, or they were just being friendly. More and more, it's becoming harder to do that, like we saw earlier in the couple weeks ago with Quandl, that you have to sign up for the service. Additionally, instead of using a web interface, you can use the download a module and go directly from Python to the data set and pull the data in. And that's what we're going to look at here. And we're still going to use Quandl, and we're going to use, there are an example of all the different data sets that are free on Quandl. You need to register, but they're free. And if we go back to the data set, we do API number 1. You can see that I am looking at Genderize, but now I'm using the web interface. I am not using the module, and if we run that, you can see I am grabbing the data from that website, that web page, and I am using JSON to load it in, and I now have it in Python. And as you can see, there is the dictionary that we load in to Python. So we have a dictionary now with the information from Genderize. So any website that returns some sort of data designed to be sent to a program, you could do this way. And there used to be a lot. Like I said, these were set up, a lot of them. Now they've had you sign up. And if they're going to have you sign up, they have written a module. And if we're using a module, if we look at API 2, you will see I'm using the Quandl module. And if we run that, I'm not using the Quandl module. I'm just going straight to Quandl without using the module. And if I do that, you can see there's a key here. That key is actually being generated from another module I have. I don't want to show you my key. And if you register at Quandl, you don't need to download the module. You can still access the data sets and collect the data from Quandl without having to load the Quandl module, which you can't do if you're using the VMware. If you're using your own system, you can load your Quandl module. But you still can get access to all the Quandl databases if you sign up and you use an interface like this, which will get you all the data from Quandl. So that's how we're looking at APIs at the moment. If we dig a little further and we look at the stocks module, this was using the Quandl module. And now you don't see a web interface anywhere on the links here. We are using the module to get to the data. Using the module makes accessing the data and manipulating the data as it comes in a whole lot easier. Now, if you watch what happens here, I will run this and it's not going to work. I'm running it as an anonymous query, and we'll run the anonymous query. And it will come back and say that the number of anonymous logins for the day has been used up. In a minute it will say that. So that's why you need to log on. And again, you can say we've used up the number of anonymous queries, so that's it. So if we log in, if we create an account, again, I have a key here, but now I have to load the Quandl module, and now I can access the data. So we can start looking at how we can manipulate the data that we would pull in from an API. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab all the information on Apple, and we're going to grab it on Microsoft, and this is their, we're going to look at the head and the tail of that, and you'll see that I'm just going to use Microsoft for now. If we run that, we'll then plot the Microsoft ending price for the day. And then I'm going to show you the index values, and the index values are the dates for each of the closing prices. And you'll see it goes up to the first quarter of 2018. Then we're only going to plot with the 2018 adjusted close. Then we're only going to plot the March adjusted close, and of course we'll just run the last quarter as well. So we can look at those plots, and it goes out to Quandl, gets the data, which it's doing right now. Because I have the key, it's allowing me to do that. Data comes in, and we have the head of the data, first 5 rows. We do the tail, which is the last 5 rows. So you can see it starts in 1986 and runs through the March 27th of 2018. And that's why head and tails are good. And there's just the plot of the data we have running from 1986 all the way through 2018. There are the index values, which shows you how the date is set up. Then I do the first quarter, running through January 1st through the end of the data, which is actually the April 15th. And then I do just the month of March in 2018, and then I do the query of the first quarter again. If we had data that would have been further on, we could just do the last quarter. If we go to stocks test 2, again, I'm reading my key in. If we run this, I'm going to get the do some renaming of the plots to make them look better, so I don't have to do the labels up here. And I'm going to get a warning here that I will show you, and we're going to do Apple and Microsoft in turn this time. So we run those, go get the data. And you can see what we're doing here is we're joining the two data sets together. So we have the Microsoft data set, and we have the Apple data set, and we can join the two data sets together, and we get on just the columns that we want, and we get that we can plot that. If you've taken the database class, you understand how the join works here. The join on line 23. It is an inner join, and it is an inner join on the index value, which is the date. So we get the date of Microsoft close and the date of Apple close. And it is a starting, and it's at the inner join, so it's where they're the same, so it doesn't really matter. But if it was a left join or a right join, we would use the Apple price date as the main index that we were using. And that's how you can start using the APIs to get data in. And the cool thing is you can start using these modules which allow you to work directly from inside of Python and not having to go through a web environment or anything like that.